So, hello folks. Today is Tuesday, November 12th, 2024. As usual, my name is Todor Vodov, and I'm back with the 40th episode of Keeping It Realistic. That's right, it's the 40th, not the 39th. I just messed up the invitation for the live event. But we have this big round number, and I hope we will celebrate it with a very informative, lively, and cool show today. For those of you who are eventually new to this format who maybe tune in for the very first time because we have tons and tons of new members in our group, let me explain what the whole thing is about. Keeping It Realistic is a show in collaboration with Chaos, in the beginning of which we take a look at some recent news, announcements, tutorials, but also some interesting upcoming events revolving around Chaos. Next, we occasionally discuss topics relevant to the group, the visualization field as a whole, or rendering in general. For example, today we do have a topic like this. We will be discussing a very hot take, the Gaussian splat models that are now supported in V-Ray 7. And finally, last but not least, we review some of your works posted in the Chaos Campus Facebook group within the last 14 days, talking about their strengths, but also pointing out their weaknesses and eventually even suggesting ways to improve them. In recent times, we mostly focus on work in progress projects, but towards the end of the show, we also check out some interesting, exciting, finalized works as well. And we do all of this as a live session instead of a recording so that you can actively participate in the discussions, interact with each other, interact with myself. So don't hesitate to say hi, ask questions, voice your opinion, make suggestions, and generally be active. And with this out of the way, welcome everyone. I'm very glad that we get to hang out together again after 2 weeks. I hope you're safe. I hope you're healthy. I hope you're well. And your November is going the way you want it to. I'm not sure. I think my hub here, my dashboard is not in okay because I don't see any comments and I don't see any updates on the number of viewers. But up in the corner, I see that there are viewers. So something strange is happening. I'm not sure if I could be able to refresh this page, but I'll give it a try because it doesn't matter. It doesn't make any sense if you write something to me and I cannot read it in real time. Let's see if it worked out. Let's see if we are still online. Oh, okay. Amit is here. He says we turned 40. Hi, Theo and hi. Oh, yeah. 40 episodes we're already in. Could you believe this? Daniel is here. Greetings, Daniel. Leslie is here. It's been a while. It's really been a while, Leslie. Haven't seen you around much. Great to have you here. Daniel says feed is lagging and voice seems delayed. Well, I'm very sorry about this. Hopefully it won't be like that the whole time. But yeah, as long as you see and you see my screen and you hear me speaking, I think we will be okay. Kacper is here. Hello, guys. Good to see you again. Yeah, good to see you too. Now, my stream looks to have a stable bitrate, so I hope everything is fine. Let's see how it goes, folks. Anyway, let's first do what we usually do in the beginning. Let's take a look at our cover image for the current episode of the show. The works for it were contributed by Ravindu, Mariana, and, well, Halloween. Ravindu's already been featured, I think, for Mariana and, well, Mr. Pumpkin. I think it's the first time. Congrats to all three of them. This triptych was pretty difficult, I gotta say, because the images are very, very difficult in their looks, in their essence. But I still think it worked out and turned out nicely. Eventually, from next year, I actually plan to go with a single image as a whole cover, because now it very much depends on the images. Sometimes they very much harmonize with each other and I can create this collage within 1 or 2 minutes. Other times, like this, for example, I spend half an hour and I'm not completely satisfied with the outcome still in the end. So maybe in the beginning or next year, we'll be having just one big image, one of your images as a cover image. So yeah, gladly let me know what you think about this idea. Now, you know, in recent times, we actually have 2 images to enjoy in the beginning of the show. It's not only the cover image for the show's episode, but also the new cover image for the group. You know, you get to choose this one out of 5, sometimes 6 or even 7 images. This time, the one that got the most votes is Muhammad's work called Bukshan Apur Palace Beachfront. And it's a really, really, really cool cover, I gotta say, because first of all, it's quite unique. We have this top-down view. We don't have this that often in visualization. Also, of course, it's very realistic. And additionally, you know, it's November in the Northern Hemisphere. It's we're going towards winter, and suddenly we have this very summer holiday-oriented cover image. But this only comes to show how interesting, exciting, and diverse our group is, because we're not only made out of people in the Northern Hemisphere or in Western countries, but from people all over the world. So it's normal that in November we get an image like this, and I thoroughly enjoy it. I hope you do too. I see here Amit. That's a cool cover page for the group. Lovely. So yeah, you seem to be enjoying this as well. I'll check the comments. Amit says, happens to me all the time. I have to refresh the page and miss a few words. Oh, I'm sorry for that. Danushka doesn't seem to have an issue with this. Mariana is here. Hello. Nice to see you. Nice to have you here. I'll be talking about your work, but in the end of the show, which would be probably in around 2 hours, because today we have lots of topics to discuss. We'll talk a lot about Gaussian splats, and yeah, this will make the show a bit longer, and your work is one that comes towards the very end, just so you know. Amit says, same here, I'm still in the valley mode with my children. Well, this is really cool. I'm very happy to hear something like this. You doing private stuff with your family and just enjoying life and not only sitting in front of your monitors. This makes me truly happy, I gotta admit. Simon joined us. This is pretty great. Nice to have you here, mate. By the way, I always wanted to ask you, and maybe after 40 or 39 episodes of the show, it's time to do, is it Simon or is it Simon? Gladly tell me. I don't know how you want to write something like this, but yeah. Anyway, I think we enjoyed our cover images enough, and now it's time to check out the campus news. Now, we'll take a look at the event calendar. There is nothing new, of course. We're approaching the end of the year. Those dates here we already know they will happen, and then in the new year there will be new stuff coming from the Chaos side when it comes to events. However, this doesn't mean that Chaos doesn't have anything new to announce or to show us. So if you go up here, so this is the official Chaos page, right? So if you go up here to learning and then community programs, you will see something entirely new, which is the Chaos Community Hub. This has been only recently added to the official Chaos page. And let's read the description here maybe first. It says, at Chaos, we believe in the power of community. Our mission is to nurture, inspire, and support the creative community, empowering a supportive environment where artists and innovators can thrive. We are committed to giving back and investing in programs that empower individuals, ignite creativity, and drive the impactful change. Join us in our journey to make the world a more vibrant place through art and innovation. And I think that a quick look at all the programs, shows, and communities that we see down here comes to show that this text up here isn't just generic PR talk with buzzwords, but actually the description of reality. Because I personally know of no other, let's say, render engine developer that does so much for the community. And don't say this because this show is sponsored by Chaos, but because I truly don't know of any other developer that does so much for the community. So yeah, let's check out the single thumbnails here. So first we have Chaos Partners in Art, which is a program for indie artists, content creators, students, and researchers actually that can apply to get funds and grants and resources from Chaos in order to get their projects off the ground, which I think is absolutely amazing. Next, we have the Chaos Vivid Voices, which is a program that supports artists in underrepresented communities. Next, we have CG Architect. You should know this, of course, especially when you're into ArchViz, because CG Architect has been the central hub for ArchViz artists for the last 20 years, probably. And this is, of course, a community where you not only can share your architectural visualizations, but where you can also connect with fellow artists or even find jobs. So if you're looking for a job, definitely check out the CG Architect page as well. Next, what do we see here? You might have heard of this. It's called the Chaos Campus. It's a very neat online community by Chaos. We'll talk more about it in a second. Next, we have the THU Talent League 2024, this talent accelerator that you can apply for. We've talked a lot about it during the shows. And then there are the Chaos Meetups, these on-site meetups that get organized by Chaos users, which can get sponsored by Chaos. Next, we have the Hablamos Chaos, which is the Spanish-speaking Chaos community, a very, very active community. And finally, the CG Time podcast and CG Garage podcast. The CG Time podcast is for the Chinese-speaking community, and CG Garage is international. It's in English. And here we have Chris Nichols, the director of the CG Labs at Chaos, hosting it and having talks on everything CGI with people from the field, from 3D artists to Hollywood directors, to literal people who have won Oscars for their work. So once again, something very, very interesting. And by the way, here is where you can submit your art. So just follow the link and you can submit your work. But now let's click on this Chaos Campus thumbnail and see where it leads us to. It says, welcome to Chaos Campus, a tight-knit circle of artists and mentors. We created Chaos Campus with an ambitious goal to unite the global community of young artists looking to develop their skills in 3D, in art, in ArchViz, VFX, and animation. You don't even need to be young, you will still be very warmly accepted in our community. If you are using or interested in Chaos projects like V-Ray, Chaos Corona, Escape, Vantage, and more, we promise you will find a cozy corner of the social web, a source of inspiration, education, and sense of community. I can truly agree with this. Gladly let me know what you think about this. And if we scroll down, you will see that our shows are listed here. The Chaos Campus live show with Nikos happens monthly on the third Thursday of the month. The Viz Academy show with Mike happens monthly on the fourth Thursday. And Keeping It Realistic happens just bi-weekly on Tuesday, so you can rely on this. Now that we have it on Tuesday the 12th, next one will be on Tuesday 26th. And I think this is absolutely great. Down here, there is a button for the people who are new to this community, who just discovered this, to join the group. And I would say a lot of people have been using this lately because we have tons and tons of new members. You remember we just celebrated becoming 5,000 members, and now we're already more than 5,600. And one last thing that I want to show you here, if you have any ideas for the Chaos Campus, maybe you have an idea how to create a new show or something, as it says here. Do you have an idea on how to nurture, inspire, and support the Chaos Campus community together? You can just put in here your name, your email address, and your idea. Showcase that you're not a robot, and then submit this idea to Chaos, and your voice will be heard. So if you have any ideas, please submit them here. So yeah, we have this new Chaos Community Hub. I would just share it in the comments. And I think it was about time that we are represented on the official Chaos page, that we get our part of it, and that we are also introduced as a group, because we in the Chaos Campus are the official international online community of Chaos. So yeah, it makes sense that we are also a part of their homepage, and I'm very happy about this. Amit says, since the show is going to be long and interesting, I'm going to have my dinner along with the show. Oh, you're very welcome to. Bon appetit. Just enjoy your time. This is how the show is meant to be. This is why I don't keep it solely technical, but also try to just put in some personal stuff or integrate some personal stuff as well, so that it's not just dry technical knowledge, but also just a talk, just us hanging out together. So yeah, enjoy your meal. And in the meantime, we can move on to the learning part. In the beginning, I usually show you this, the official Chaos Facebook page. This is not a page where you can share works or something. This is where you get all the announcements from Chaos, the latest news, announcements, but also articles, tutorials, and stuff like this. And if you listen to me, gladly keep an eye on this page in the next days, especially tomorrow or until the end of the week, because I think we're expecting a big announcement here. I won't say anything more. I'll just move in to a tutorial from the group by Konstantinos from Mesh Mastery, showing us how to use Quick Align, which is a very nice trick. By the way, sometimes we set up our camera as a central perspective, and then we try moving it around to see if we can better angled perspective, and then in the end decide, no, we don't want this, we want the central perspective was the best one. And here you can see how by using Quick Align, we can do this very easily. I don't think this is a must, to be honest with you, because if you imagine a real-life photographer, and this is what we simulate in the last part of our work, what a real-life photographer would never have an exact 90-degree angle to what they're photographing. So if you have a slight angle degree, it would just add to the realism. But if you want to be perfect, if you want to satisfy your OCD, then gladly use this method showcased here by Konstantinos. Next, we have an After Effects tutorial by Abdi. I don't see him in the comments. This is strange, actually. He's usually here. He's showing us how to create a snow effect, a falling snow effect, in After Effects with the help of trap code Particular. This is inspired by this work by Jihan, very cool scene that he's experimenting a lot on. And this time he rendered it in Vantage, so approaching this cabin, and he created this falling snow with the help of After Effects, as he describes down here. And here Abdi is showing us how this is to be done. As you can see, it's merely 4 minutes, so it's not really that difficult. But in the end, the falling snow effect is actually looking absolutely great and very, very realistic. So you can easily follow this one if you want to create something like this. Of course, you can also render your snow, but this it takes a lot of resources. It's heavy to render with particles. So this way is often the way easier one. Let's stop this one. Let's close it, because maybe this will make our connection better. How is it, guys? Do you still hear me with delay, and or do you see everything and it's okay for you? Gladly, please let me know in the comments. and I will continue with the second tutorial by Abdi. This time he's showing us how to animate bread coming out of a toaster. And you might think, well, why should I need this? Well, when you make kitchen animations, they are often a bit boring because it's just a camera panning around the kitchen. Now, of course, you can place a person there cooking, but this would be very difficult and complex to pull off. What you can do is use some trickery to add storytelling and dynamic to your scenes by having some dynamic objects in them. This could be a teapot with some steam coming out of it, or, for example, a toaster with a toasted bread coming out of it. Because you don't need a person for this to happen, but it's still a very nice effect and it adds dynamic to your scene. And here, within 3.5 minutes, Abdi is showing us how to do this with the help of Tyflow, and I think it's really, really cool. It works like charm, and if you take a look at this, the simulation is perfect. Just make sure that you use two different textures for the bread, so it shouldn't be toasted before it goes down. It should just be toasted when it comes out. And I think that should be enough of tutorials and news, and I think it's time for us to discuss our topics for the day. So the first topic, let me just check the comments. Amit says it's okay for now. Leslie, all good on my end. Danushka works fine tail. Okay, this is great. So let's continue with the topics. First, I will remind you about our ongoing challenge about project visualization. Don't forget about this, please. In the group, it's among the featured posts here at the top. You just need to click on it in order to know everything you need to know about it, in order to know how to participate. But more or less, what you need to do is imagine that the client reaches out and wants you to visualize a product. It doesn't matter if this is an existing or an imaginary project, just pick one and run with it. In the next step, model it and texture it from scratch. Please provide screenshots to showcase that you did it on your own. And finally, visualize it in an attractive way so that it is appealing to your target audience. Please use one of the Chaos render engines to do so, of course. And you need to do this, please, until Friday, December 6th, 2024. And in order to participate, you just need to upload your images as a post in the group stating that you want to participate. And then you get the chance to win great prizes by Chaos. When it comes to the prizes, let me just open a bracket here. So usually when we talk about prizes, it's licenses from Chaos software of your choice. The reason for this is not that Chaos doesn't want to send merch or something. We've discussed this a few times already with Chaos. The problem is elsewhere. It's the import fees. With many countries, there are very hefty import fees when you send something to somebody. For example, as I purchased The Mir Way, this book by Mir, it cost around 30 euros to import it into Germany. You should imagine, I purchased it in Norway and imported it to Germany. These countries are almost neighboring. They're in the same European Union, and it still cost me 30 euros to import the damn book, right? So if you imagine that, let's say you win and Chaos wants to send you a t-shirt in your size, and they send you a 20 euro t-shirt, and then you need to pay 50 euros in order to get it from border control, you probably won't be happy about your win. So this is a bit of a difficult topic, but gladly let me know what you think about it. Would you be happy to pay a fee and receive some merch, no matter how much this fee is? Or would you prefer the safe tour and take a license? Because Amit says, can we get a mentorship for 3 to 6 months or for some time as prizes, just as a thought? A mentorship for 3 to 6 months. Yeah, the question is with whom? I mean, this is definitely an interesting idea. I will discuss it with Suavi on our bi-weekly call. But yeah, generally, of course, the more other people and sites are included in this whole process, the more difficult it gets. If we keep it simple, you can get your prizes way sooner. Simon says, I paid around 50 euros extra for the Mirway book. Yeah, you see how it is. So just imagine something like this happens. You probably won't be happy with your merch in the end. This is why we take the safe route and just give you licenses. But yeah, we'll discuss. And maybe we can make it as an option. You either get a license or you get merch, but you need to pay the import fee. I don't know. Simon continues, an extra 25 euro fee. So you paid 75 euros additional to the price of the book, or what? This is getting insane. I mean, the book is great, but I mean, it in the end you paid more for all the fees than you paid for the book itself, which is ridiculous. Let's be honest. Anyway, enough about this challenge. Gladly participate. You have a bit less than a month until deadline, and I think this could be a great exercise for you. This can enrich your portfolio, and once again, you can win prizes. This is great. Okay, let's continue with today's main topic. Daniel says, how is their import fees if it's an EU, European Union economic region? Don't ask me. I also don't know. Maybe Norway isn't in it, but as far as I know, Norway is a part of the European Union. So, yeah. Helen says, what a pity there is no digital merch. Well, with the digital merch we already have, that's the software. But yeah, there is maybe this is actually a cool idea. Maybe Chaos can come up with some own type of bitcoins or or maybe really digital merch. This would be cool. I'll think about this. Anyway, let's continue because once again we have a lot to talk about for our next topic, which is Gaussian splats. Now, before we continue, let me just tell you that I'm no expert on this topic, and what we'll be doing here is we'll just take a look at the pros and cons of this, the potentials and the limitations, because I experimented around with the topic and now I just want to share my thoughts with you. So definitely take them with a grain of salt and, do your own experiences. This would be the best. Amit says Bitcoins, wow, do recommend the idea to chaos. Well, I'll think about it. Okay, so obviously, this topic with the Gaussian splats is not random. It's related to the recent release of V-Ray 7, which, alongside all the other improvements and new features, also supports Gaussian splat models. By the way, there is a great video. So this is the new version, V-Ray 7 for 3ds Max. And there is a great video by Ricardo Eloy from CG Architect, showcasing all of those 14 features that you get with the new version of V-Ray. Check it out, it's in the group. And also, since yesterday, there is a video by Ricardo with his take on Gaussian splats in V-Ray 7. He finds them amazing, and I tend to very much agree with this. He shared it in the video yesterday, so if you have missed it, go back and watch it. Also, on his most recent webinar, Mike also took a closer look at V-Ray 7, all the new features and improvements, and also briefly at the Gaussian splats as well. Anyway, this is how things went, because once again, I want to tell it a bit more as a story rather than become immediately very, very technical. So V-Ray released on October 31st, which is Halloween for those who celebrate it. I don't celebrate Halloween for the religious part. This doesn't mean anything to me, to be very honest with you. I just like the spooky masquerade. So yeah, as Suavi shared the release video for the official release of V-Ray 7, and as Mike made his live on October 31st, introducing V-Ray 7, I was in the garden preparing and later having a Halloween party. Luckily for me, however, what happens on the campus stays on the campus. So the next day I was able to rewatch the video and also watch the recording of Mike's evening show. And once again, among all the great features, and they really are, I'm a Corona user, I love Corona, but I have to admit that I'm absolutely envious for the new features of V-Ray because they're really making the artist's life easier. Anyway, Among all those features, one stood out to me a lot, and it was the support for Gaussian splat models. Now, Gaussian splat models are more or less a new topic. They became a thing in the last years. I have an article here for you. It's pretty short and on point. You can take a look at it if you want to. But yeah, Gaussian splat models became a thing in the last years because of this rapid advancement in machine learning, in these neural rendering techniques like nerves and things like this. I don't want to talk more about it because I also don't understand it way better than I can tell you. But yeah, they never really felt relatable to me and my work and my workflow because there was no engine that was supporting them. So to me, they were nothing more than a nice gimmick. However, with the release of V-Ray 7, this very much changed. So as I saw that V-Ray 7 now supports Gaussian splats, I decided to try it out. So I researched the whole process, and the whole process in more or less this. These are just a few steps. So in the first step, you take your scene or object, whatever it is, take multiple photos of it or a video. In the second step, you turn it into a Gaussian splat model, and for this you use one of the softwares that you can find listed down in this article. So Nerve Studio, Polycam, Luma AI, or Postshot. There are certainly more. These are probably the most popular and most capable ones. I myself decided to go with Postshot. It is a very, I'll share this article with you too, by the way. So yeah, Postshot is very simple, very easy to use. The software is still in beta, but it's fully functional, fully capable, and it's also completely free. There is a great tutorial that I watched and followed in order to know how to work with the software by Black Mixture. I will share this one with you as well, so you don't have to type it afterwards if you watch the recording or if you want to get back to it. Anyway, so I used Postshot, but you can use also some of the other software solutions at your disposal. And in the third step, you import the newly created Gaussian splat model into your scene with the help of V-Ray. And obviously, as we know, in the fourth step, you profit from this. That's it. Okay, so much for the theory. Now, let's check the practical application. Now, to me, it was incredibly important to create the Gaussian splats myself. Because only then they would be useful to me. You see, in the past almost 13 years of my career, I have spent countless hours recreating the surroundings of the buildings that I was actually tasked to visualize. I remember working on a competition. I created the high-rise building. This was a big one in 2 days with all the revisions and stuff. And then I spent 7 work days creating the surroundings. So this is obviously tedious, tiresome, and let's call it as it is. It's a waste of time. So of course, I'm looking for alternative solutions that can help me avoid doing this in future. And this is why it is important that I am able to create my specific surroundings, because it is true that online there are free Gaussian splat models for you to download and experiment with. However, this doesn't really help you, or it wouldn't help me if I can download a Gaussian splat model from New York if I need to build a house or visualize a house in a street in Germany. So I need to be able to create the splat surrounding on my own, and only then this method can be useful to me. So what I did is I went out in the garden. I took yesterday's pumpkin, Mr. Pumpkin, you already saw him, put him on the lawn, and then I took a video of him. And now I'll start showing you all my experiments. So yeah, I took this video of Mr. Pumpkin. It will now show up for you to see. It's just me walking around him. I just speed it up so that we don't waste time. It's just me walking around him, showing him or filming him from all sides, a bit closer on the top and the front because there is a lot of detail here. And that was the whole video. You can see it is only around half a minute long. Next, what I did is I opened Postshot and then took the video file and just drag and dropped it here. Now, the moment you do this, this import settings window pops up, asking you about about the configuration before you start training your Gaussian splat model. Now, I can tell you so much that the default settings here are already very, very good. You can choose if you want the training to happen based on the best images or based on all images. Of course, if it's the best images, the program will only select the best ones. If it's all images, it will take all 2000 images, which of course will take longer to process. Also, you can try out different radiance field profiles. I just go with the default one, the MCMC, but there are also nerve profiles. You can try them all out if you feel like it. And down here, you can also say when the training stops. So it's in K steps, so in 1000 steps. In a moment, it will stop after 30,000 steps. If I change this number to 60,000, for example, the model will be more detailed, will look better, but it will, of course, process way longer, or twice as long. But yeah, let's just say import. You see there is a checkbox which says start training. So the moment you press the import button, it will start training. And the progress you can actually see down here in the corner. So first thing that it does, it selects the images because we set it up to select the best images to train the model on. So this is what it's doing now. It's selecting the images. Next, it will start tracking the camera and finally training the model. Now, be aware, you see here, on my case, it says primary compute device. It's my NVIDIA GeForce RTX 1490. This is a very strong card, so in my case, things don't take a long time. Of course, depends on the model. Yeah, if your card isn't as strong, or if you do it with a CPU, it can take longer. Just so you know. You see, it's tracking the camera as I told you, and in the meantime, I will check out Mariana's comment. She says, Gaussian splat was the last drop that convinced me to pass to 3ds Max. As you well said, it's extremely useful, especially for architectural competitions. Yeah, we'll take a look at that next. But there are some limitations. There are some things that we need to, just get around with or find a workaround for. But apart from that, yeah, they're great. So, and you see here, the pumpkin starts appearing in the form of a point cloud, but I think you can already recognize it. Now, at this point, I will just stop it because we don't want to wait for this to happen. And I will just open the final model. We won't save the changes here. And I will just open the final model to show you. It doesn't matter with this program, at least, it doesn't matter how the viewport looks like when you save it. So if I save it with a viewport showing this and then I reopen it, it will still send me somewhere where the model doesn't look that impressive, as you saw, but this isn't that important. Anyway, let's take a look at the pumpkin. As you can tell, everything is perfectly captured. It was only this 30-second video, and as you can tell, I can move around this object. I can view it from all directions, and all the small detail, the leaves, and even the small fine toothpicks are still here. And I think that this is absolutely impressive. Now, the surroundings here look pretty bad. Why? Because if you think back about the video, I didn't take any video of the surroundings. I just focused on the pumpkin, and this is why they look like this. And this obviously isn't that great. Now, if I tried to export the Gaussian splat model now, everything I need to do is to go to File, Export Splat Model, and I will be able to do this. And if I saved it, this would be this one, Tails Halloween Pumpkin, and it is 730 megabytes of size, which is not really small. Now, why do I need to take these surroundings with me when they look like crap? I don't. So what I can do next is I can go to the Scene, Radiance Field, Crop Box, and down here, the properties, the parameters menu pops up. And as you can see, there is a checkbox called Crop. If you press it, a crop or cut volume appears. And then I can reduce my splat, the dimensions of it. This box, you can do this, you can scale, make it larger, smaller, you can rotate around, you can move around, and you can then make it so that only this part of the model that you really need is selected. And if I were to export this splat model, then it would be this one down here, which is pumpkin cut. And as you can see, this one is 460 megabytes, which is almost 300 megabytes smaller. So you also have the option to cut your models before exporting them out of this great software called PostShot. Now let's go over to 3ds Max. By the way, folks, how is the speed of this presentation? Is it too quick to follow, or is it too slow? Is it interesting? Let me know. In the meantime, I will show you how to import Gaussian splat model into your scene. So you just go to the V-Ray menu, and then you go to V-Ray Gaussian geometry, and that was all of it actually. So let's place it exactly in the middle, and if we then go to these properties, Daniel says, I also created one this weekend. It would be great if we modified it inside of Max and convert to mesh inside of Max. Yeah, that would be really amazing. It says it's a nice pace, how it has to be. Okay, great. Glad to hear this. So if you want to import your Gaussian splat model, you just go to File, the three dots to the right, and then you just select the cut version here of the Halloween pumpkin, and then you simply import it. It takes a second, and here it is already. Now let's make it a bit larger. As you can see, the axis is wrong, so we have this option here, flip axis. Just check it, and the model is there, and the axis is as it should be. Now, obviously, this is very, very small. Given that this is a pumpkin, I would say let's give ourselves a dummy that can help us, scale it to appropriate size. I'll just use the keyboard entry function and give this dummy a radius of 20 centimeters. And obviously it is, yeah, it is way bigger than our imported Gaussian splat model. So what we need to do next is I'll just select the Gaussian splat model, and I will just scale it. Let's say we scale it to something like 30%. If you want to move it around, by the way, this is important. If you want to move it around, you need to either pick that point here or the bounding box of it, right? So, sorry, let's put it here. Let's come here. I should have done it. Oh, man. This is why I don't do something like this in a perspective view. So yeah, let's take a look at this. This looks pretty good already. I think we can hide our dummy now, and we already have the model here inside. And what we can do next is just show the V-Ray frame buffer. Yes, we want this to be the default render engine, and then just start the interactive render. Please note that we haven't done anything in terms of lighting setup and stuff, and the scene is already there. And if I were to select my sphere, now it can happen that you have certain delays with the video or with my voice, because we are now currently rendering. But yeah, I can rotate around, I can do whatever I want, and I can view this model from each direction that I feel like. And I think that this is absolutely amazing how easy it works. Like, it's just literally just a few steps, and you already have the model at your disposal. And once again, just take a look at this detail. I know it's a render preview, it's still a bit messy, maybe pixelated, but take a look. Every single toothpick is clearly visible, and this is just mind-blowing if you ask me. Okay, but enough about this. I want to show you more examples. So we will just close this scene. Remember, I gave you this scene and the model to experiment with. So if you want to experiment with this one, you can do so whenever you please. Okay, so I made further experiments that I also plan to show you now. Next I made a video of my fireball. of our fireball from the garden. I'll show you the video and then I'll once again show you the model. And this we will do a few times. So once again, I'll speed it up. This is just a fireball with all the, burnt wood in it, and obviously placed on gravel with some stuff on it, fallen leaves, debris, and stuff like this. And let's see how it turned out as a model. We'll just open, how is it called? Fireball. Okay, no, we won't save the changes, and here it is. And once again, if we take a look at this like that, if we zoom in a bit, you'll see the fireball looks amazing. All the details are there, the gravel, all the debris on the floor, the fallen leaves, everything is perfect. However, once we lower the camera, you see that the underside of the ball is a total mess. I'll show you one more example. As a video first, and then once again as a Gaussian splat model. This was a flower in a vase, or a bouquet in a vase that we had at home. So because it's so fragile, so fragmented, with all these small tiny forms, I decided to experiment with it as well. So as you can see, I once again made a video showing it from all sides. I even zoomed in on the blossoms and on the leaves, because I really wanted to get some detail on them. And you see, we have a video which is approximately 1 minute long. And let's see how it turned out as a Gaussian splat model. Once again, all of those models I actually trained with only 30,000 steps. So if you train them with 60,000, they will be more detailed in the end. This is something that we should remember. But yeah, this is how it turned out. I was really impressed that the training managed to actually understand that these leaves are something that doesn't belong to the background. And you see how much we can zoom in, and we have all the fragility of those leaves, and also great detail on the texture. So this looks really, really good from all sides, as you can tell. Now, once again, however, if we take a look at the underside, it looks pretty messy once again. And also here a second issue occurred. This is this white surface. So I think what we can conclude so far is, first of all, if you want an object to be visible from all directions, you should also depict it or film it from all directions. So if I wanted to take a look at the vase from down under, I should have also had footage from here, so that the program knows how to train the model properly. And the second thing is, obviously, smooth white surfaces aren't that great for training, because the software kind of fails at properly depicting them, even though this is just a simple white surface, nothing special to it. So this is what we've learned so far. And with all this knowledge, I tried it one final time. I scanned a chair, the chair that you saw in the Keeping It Realistic chat. Once again, I will speed it up. I'm going around it. Why I did want to scan this one, this is a chair we actually want to throw away. It's pretty historic. It would make sense to restore it, but it would be so much work that we simply won't be able to do it. So yeah, we want to actually get rid of it. But obviously, as a 3D model, I really loved all the weathering happening on it, how the paint is falling off and stuff like this. So you see, I tried to scan it from more than one direction, and let's see how it worked out. And once again, despite the very fragmented nature of this object, I think it worked out pretty fine from very different directions. So, and what's great about it is, what you see here aren't just flat textures. The paint peeling off the wood is actually three-dimensional, as it should be, But once again, when you look from the wrong angle, it doesn't really work. So this is definitely a limitation, and if you really want it properly depicted, you really need to properly film it or photograph it from all directions. Okay, I think enough about this, and remember, always you can crop your models, because once again, take a look at the surrounding here, you don't really need it. So just crop it, and then you end up with something like this, which is way more lightweight and way more usable. Okay, then a few days later, I decided to go a step further and see how I can incorporate this into my work. So I got to another part of the garden and took a pretty long video. You see, it's almost 3 minutes long. Oh, you don't see this because it's behind my window. But yeah, it's an almost 3 minute long video of this table. It's built in there. I cannot move it around. So I just filmed it where it is situated. This time I made sure to also film the undersides to take some closer shots of the texture of the table. And by the end of the video, I'll speed up once again. I also made sure to also film some of the surroundings as well, because all the previous models that we saw, I was only focusing on the object itself, but not on its immediate surroundings. So this is what it looks like. I wanted to also have the leaves. I wanted to have something which is a bit higher. So let's take a look how this turned out as a model. So we'll open this one here. It is called table, really appropriately called. And yeah, we are stuck somewhere in the middle and I absolutely cannot recognize where we are. I didn't have an issue like this so far, but of course this is a live show, so something like this must happen. Let's try it once again. I'll just say new and then I'll try to open the table. Oh, yeah, and then it works. Okay. So as you can see, this time it's different. First of all, we can take a look at the underside of the table and it works great. And also this time we actually have some decent looking surroundings as well. Not everywhere. It was a very quick shot in the end of the surroundings. So you see they're a bit messy partially. But here in this direction, for example, they look absolutely amazing. Okay, next we will take this over to 3ds Max. So this is the Gaussian splat model integrated into Max and properly scaled to real life size. And despite us streaming in the moment, you can see that we can still very nicely navigate around this. And despite having tons of information included here, it's still very lightweight. The viewport is active and interactive, and this is very cool. So let's take a look at this. Why did I choose this table? Why? What do you think? I think I can hear you, but I know that you'll be guessing right. I choose the table because I want to place something atop of it. Okay, I have a camera. Here you see where it is. This is nothing spectacular. It's just a camera facing the table and that's it. So let's render and take a look at how it looks like. It looks like this. It's very similar to what we just saw in post-shot, right? Okay. Let me just check out a few things about the camera, because we still have that build on it. And okay, you don't see my layers, but you also don't need to. Anyway, let's try and put something onto this table. In the meantime, I'll take a look at Amit's command. So the quality of the splats depends upon how detailed the video you have shot and how much training it is given for the splats output. Exactly. Yes. Not only of how detailed the video is, it also depends on the quality of the video. Those videos that you saw so far have already all been shot in 1080 resolution, which isn't incredibly high. That it could have been 4K, then the resolution would have been way higher. But yeah, if you train for longer, then the final outcome would also be better. Okay, let's put something here. So we'll open the Cosmos browser and I just took this banana bowl and I'll just put it in the scene. Hopefully, I mean, it's a live show, so probably Max will die out at some point, but so far everything's been stable. I think you can follow. So yeah, if there is an issue, let me know. If not, we'll just continue. Let's move this around a bit until it's a bit more centered on the table, and let's render once again. And then we'll see something which is a bit of an issue. We have this scene, this is beautifully lit up, but our banana bowl is absolutely not illuminated at all. It reflects a bit, but but there is no illumination. And once again, remember or think back about the pumpkin model that we inserted into 3ds Max. We just put it in and we just press the render button and it immediately worked. What we did, no lighting setup. And the reason is, and we see that there is no lighting setup here because the bowl is currently dark. And this is, of course, a bit of a limitation of the Gaussian splats. They are something, they're like self-illuminated, okay? You should imagine the Gaussian splats like a 3D HDRI. You can, contrary to a 3D, to HDRI, which is just a, spherical surrounding, here you do actually have this point cloud and you do actually have the geometry. And as you can tell, this banana bowl is actually placed atop of this geometry. However, the Gaussian splat contains all of its light data baked into the splats. And this is, of course, a big limitation because it doesn't absolutely affect anything else. So you don't have a global illumination coming with the Gaussian splat that also comes to all the other objects in the scene. No, they're absolutely independent. The Gaussian splat has its own lighting. It's like self-illuminated. It has the light data baked in. And if you want to have other objects with the Gaussian splat surrounding, then you need to illuminate your other objects separately. And obviously, you need to illuminate them in a way which matches the illumination of your Gaussian splat model. So in this particular case, I just went with Dome, with an HDRI from the Cosmos library. I will just turn it on now. And if we put this back here and then we press the interactive random button, we will take a look at, yeah, just need to change my camera settings. I make the F number 8. And then you'll see that now the banana bowl will be properly illuminated. So you need to think in advance. If you want to create to have a scene which is illuminated by the sun, where you have long shadows or something like this, then you need to create the splat in a moment where the sun shines and there are shadows. And then you can do something like this. Amit says, does this apply to drone shots as well, where the drone covers a larger area, for example, a city block, and if you want to put a building in that block, then you have to have a close-up shots of the surroundings as well. So does post-shot combine two videos and make it one single splat model with the entire area with all the high-res detail? Hope I'm clear. Yeah, you're clear, and we'll talk about it in a minute. So wait, you get your answer. Regarding if post-shot can work with two videos, I'm not sure, but maybe you can cut the two videos together and then feed it to the post-shot, but I'm not sure if it will recognize single buildings. This is something that we need to experiment with. So, okay, let's go back to our table here. The banana bowl is now properly illuminated, but there is another issue. It absolutely doesn't connect to the table. It just looks like it's done in Photoshop. It just placed the top of it in Photoshop. And the reason is, once again, Gaussian splat models aren't meshes. This is no real geometry. This is a point cloud, more or less. So the same way, if you have a tree, let's say you have spherical HDRI surrounding and you have a tree in your scene, this tree won't throw any shadow on the HDRI, right? The same way, objects here don't throw any shadows onto the Gaussian splat surfaces because these are point clouds. So what you can do here, what we need to do here is to work with shadow catchers. To create the shadow catchers, our shadow catcher, I'll show you. I'll just take this dummy that I chose that I used in order to properly scale the imported Gaussian splat model. Then I just, or let me not describe it like this. I will just clone it, not as an instance, but as a copy. And then let's quickly do an edit poly, and then remove everything else but the cap, delete it. Then the cap we can maybe center to object here so that we can scale it down a bit, just a tiny bit. And what we should do next is press the right mouse button, because if I render the way it is now, obviously this geometry will show up. It's not a shadow catcher yet. So what I need to do next is press the right mouse button onto the surface. I hope it happens. Then you see down here V-Ray properties, and then you go to matte object, matte for reflection and refraction. Make the alpha contribution to -1, and then direct light, shadows, and effect alpha. Those two you also need to check. And then we close this, and then we have turned our surface into a shadow catcher. And if we take a look now, you see that suddenly the bowl of bananas connects with the table underneath, and it looks like it is actually placed atop of it, which is exactly what we wanted to achieve at the first place. Now you may say, well, how does it help me? I can do something like this with an HDRI. Well, yes, but once again, if you rotate the camera, the bowl will still be placed on this table, and this is a huge advantage. Also, the next thing is that even though the Gaussian splats aren't... Daniel asks, does the point cloud give off a reflection? Yeah, it definitely does. We saw it in the beginning where we had no light onto this. Let me remove the light here. Where are you? Oh, sorry. Let me remove the map here, and you see that the bananas will now get dark, but they will still reflect the top of this table, because once again, this is as if it was self-illuminated. This is the big difference. And also one more thing, despite those Gaussian splats not reacting to light, shadows, and not being actual geometry, they actually react to your camera settings. So if we go back to our camera and let's say enable depth of field and go to a f number of 1 so that we have pretty strong blurring in the background, obviously this will change our lighting perception too, so we have to fix this as well. But let's take a look at this. Amit says, what is the difference between the method you showed and directly making the object as a shadow catcher object? You can do it this way. I just prefer the other way around. You know, I'm not that used to V-Ray because I'm a Corona user, so I usually tend to do this, all of this that I'm showing you in Corona, obviously not the Gaussian splats, but shadow catchers and stuff. I just do the way I know in V-Ray, so your method is exactly as legit as mine. But yeah, take a look at this. Here, the Gaussian splat model reacted to the depth of field, and we ended up with something which looks very, very realistic. And if you were to save this image and send it to somebody, they would think that somewhere in a very untidy part of somebody's garden with lots of autumn leaves on the floor, there somebody has placed a bowl of bananas for some reason. So I think that this outcome is really, really looking good already. So as you can see, with Gaussian splats, you need to just have the right approach. They have their limitations, but they also have huge advantages. You just need to approach them the right way. So you need to plan ahead and just think about what kind of surrounding you want to have, what type of lighting you want to have to your scene, and then create the Gaussian splat model the way you need it to, and then work with shadow catchers in order to create something like this. Amit says, okay, thank you, learned a new way to make the object as a shadow catcher. That's pretty cool, right? Okay, but this is not everything. I want to show you, let's get bigger, and let me show you a large scale example, something that Amit just asked for. So I will now close this scene. We don't have to save it. I already have it saved. and I'll show you a video that I took with my drone because, as you know, I'm also a drone pilot for a while now, and sometimes I do drone work as well. So this video, it takes a second to start, but then you will see what we will try to do next. Okay, it takes more than a second to start, it seems. Yeah, it's a video shot in 4K, so with the live going on, it's a bit slow right now. But yeah, what we have here is a circular scenic drone flight around this building. This is what was the main goal of my drone shot, this corner building with its own property and this parking lot here in the back. As you can see, there is also a lot of city to be seen in the back, but the focus here obviously lies on this building being depicted from all sides. So yeah, this is 2.5 minute 4K video that I then took over to Photoshop, and here is how the outcome looks like. Once again, this is a 4K video, and in this particular case, I also let it train for 60,000 steps in order to get a better looking model. By the way, what you see here to the left, I didn't show you those buttons, but usually in the beginning when you start the software, they're turned on. So the first one turns on and off the gizmo. The second one shows you the actual camera angles. So you see it here with the drone, it's just a circle. Here we have the point cloud that you can enable or disable the visibility of. I personally don't like it, and I only keep the final one. If you remove the final one, you don't see the splat anymore. So yeah, here we see what we ended up with, and I must say this is truly amazing. We don't only have the building, but we also have very, very decent looking surroundings as well. Amit says, missing update today. Think he's making his new video, which which we will see shortly in the group. Yeah, I think he's working on this rare clone fence tutorial, which would be amazing. Great macro. Daniel, quick side question regarding drones. What are the regulations in Germany? In Switzerland, we have to ask for police permission each time, plus other restrictions as well. Yeah, here is the same. I mean, it's Germany. If bureaucracy has a synonym, it's Germany. So you can imagine we have to do it here as well. I had to also get a permission from the police, from the building owner, and actually you're not allowed to fly above residential areas. But given that this is not really a residential area, it was okay. But yeah, it's difficult. You don't just take your drone and take videos and photos in areas like this. In the green areas, if it's not under nature preservation, then it's okay. But yeah, and the drone is limited to a height of 120 meters, which is also limiting, but it's the way it is. Daniel continues, we have to pay 50 francs each time. Oh, I don't have to pay anything. Okay, so you have it worse. You won. Okay, let's continue here with this model. So next thing I did, as you can imagine, I put it over in 3ds Max, and this is what it looks like there. And I must admit that it looks amazing. Just take a look at it. And once again, think about the amount of information included into this splat model and take a look at the viewport. It's really quick, it's very responsive, it works like a charm. Okay, now let's go over and take a look at this. So I placed the camera, you can see where it is. So here is the corner building, and here is our camera. Nothing fancy, and this is what the camera sees. So next thing I will do is I will start the interactive render similar to last time, and this is what we see, which once again looks very, very realistic. Now imagine following scenario. This parking lot, let's say the owner of this building doesn't want this stupid parking lot to be there and wants to build a new high-rise building there instead. Of course, they can, maybe as a 3D artist, they can provide you with a 3D, like a drone photo, or I don't know, something. You can maybe extract something out of Google Earth as well. And then you can move over to do a collage. You can do perspective match in 3D Studio Max, for example. But of course, this is tedious to do. This doesn't work out perfectly every time. And yeah, it's not a perfect solution, but let's say you match your buildings to the photo, then you draw the shadow in post-production. But let's say the building is a modern office building. It has a lot of glass to it. What would you do then? Where will you get the reflections and refractions for that glass from? So this is what I decided to experiment with next. So I took one of those models from the Cosmos library twice actually, and put them atop of each other to create my so-called high-rise building. And once again, this is what it looks like. Simon says, if Germany is a synonym for bureaucracy, then Switzerland is a synonym for monocracy. Oh, this is a great word. I remember this one. So yeah, and I just spoke about the reflections. Here they are. Because if you have a building seen from this direction, you will actually have to see the backside of this corner building in the reflections. And you cannot create something like this with photo matching or with HDRI. This is just impossible. But with the help of Gaussian splat models, you can actually do something like this. And you see our building here has exactly the reflection that it needs to have in real life. So of course I need to stop it because we don't have any light. Next thing I will do is I will enable our dome. Once again, you just need to make sure that the HDRI or the sun and sky system that you use matches the conditions from your Gaussian splat model. So in this particular case, contrary to the table that we just had, in this particular case, it's an overcast day, but there are still some shadows. So obviously we needed an HDRI with also some shadows to it. And because this is a high-rise building, some of those shadows will actually fall onto this corner one. And what you need to do next, obviously, is we need to make the shadow catchers. So we need one for the floor, and then let's say two dummies for the corner building. I made it really sloppily, I gotta admit. So if you do it as a commercial project, you obviously spend more time on the creation of those dummies. But then suddenly you see the shadow from this high-rise building actually projecting onto this. You see those dark corners here? And so we have something very, very realistic looking. And I think, yeah, we just did it within minutes. We placed the new building here. So what are the advantages? Okay, we placed it here. It looks nice. I'll show you actually a final outcome of this. I have it somewhere. Where is our page? Here it is. This is how the final outcome looks like. And if you ask me, it looks very, very cool. It doesn't look like something done in a few minutes, but like a very, very professional architectural visualization shot. And the advantages here are, it's not only that this looks pretty good and we have very realistic looking surroundings, we also have very realistic looking, why did I close it actually? We also have very realistic looking reflections and also accurate ones, refractions as well, and not last but not least, the scale of the building and the perspective are absolutely perfect because it's an actual 3D model. You didn't do any photo matching or perspective matching. You actually placed the model where it belongs. And this is, of course, a huge quality because if you do perspective matching and you have different angles, it becomes easily very, very difficult. In our case here, however, I can always change the perspective. And the good thing about, I'll just hide the dummies for a second. The good thing about this is that the reflections and refractions, the size, the scaling will still stay right, because if you can take a look at this to the left, you see that the new buildings are actually placed where they belong. And also one more thing, the Gaussian splats actually also act like an alpha map. So if they cover the new building to a certain extent, this will also show up in the render. So they are, okay, what happened here? Something happened. I messed up. Oh yeah, of course. I don't have my proper camera settings. So yeah, I probably need to go way down with the illumination. Yeah, here we are. Um, but you see that our new building is actually hidden behind the corner building. So this is really, really impressive. Now, going back to Amit's question, I think if we want to make a street view, like if we want to really place ourselves on the street and take a look at the new building from down under, it won't work out properly because the drone was high as it was capturing the footage, and we have no real footage from this. I don't know, how are these called? I don't know, from this section. Let's call it like this. So this won't work, but you see, we changed the perspective here. The reflections changed as well. The building is hidden behind the existing one. The shadows are still there, and it is actually a help which is immense. So to summarize this, oh, and one last thing. If you say, well, Theo, I don't have a drone or I don't have 50 francs to pay in order to fly my drone in a Swiss city, well, I got your back because you can actually use Google Earth or better Google Earth Studio to simulate drone style videos. Just take a look at this one. It's from the Colosseum, and it's more or less the same as I just showed you in with my own drone footage. I'll drop you the video in the comments, and you can take a look at it later. But as you can see, it is very much possible. I have to stop this render at some point. It is very much possible to create drone-like videos from Google Earth footage, which means in turn that you then can create 3D Gaussian splats based on those videos and create your own surroundings, which is once again absolutely amazing, because just try to imagine the time needed to create all those buildings from scratch. This will take forever. So yeah, and as photogrammetry, it will work, of course. It will be actual geometry. This is the difference. This is the main difference. Photogrammetry reacts to light. It reacts to shadows because it's actual geometry. But a model like this will be incredibly heavy, and it will take forever to create and not just a few minutes. So it's always a balance act. But I think that we can conclude that with the Gaussian splat models that are now supported in V-Ray 7, Chaos gave us a very powerful and unique tool that definitely opens new horizons and really makes me think about at least temporarily switching over to V-Ray. So yeah, you won't be creating new assets for your libraries with this because you're not creating geometry, but you will be creating wonderful surroundings and saving tons of time if you use this technique. I hope this was clear, because we also have to do some reviewing and we're already an hour and 20 minutes in. But I hope this was useful to you. I hope this was clear. If you have any questions, you can also ask me after the show or ask in the Keeping It Realistic chat or whatever. But yeah, I think that Gaussian splats are really amazing despite all their limitations. We just need to think ahead and take in account what the limitations are and try to find a way around them. And then it works like charm. Daniel asked, are they planning on adding any useful features in Corona? As far as I know, they are. If it's about Gaussian splats, I'm not sure, because the issue is that the code of, oh, good that I tidy up my desktop from time to time, otherwise it would have been awkward now. But yeah, I mean, the code of Corona and V-Ray, the codes are simply very, very different. So it's not possible to just, add something new, a new feature to V-Ray, and then just immediately copy it over to Corona. This is why we have different states for these two render engines. But yeah, there are some really cool new features and improvements approaching with Corona too. I'll check the two comments by Amit and Simon, and then we can start talking about the work in progress projects. So Amit says, when we take a 3D model and incorporate it with the splats, then does the 3D model block away that part of the splat, or does it intersect with it? Well, if it covers, like you saw it here. Like I placed that building here. I placed it atop of the parking lot. So it covers it up, but it will intersect with it otherwise. say we have a glass material on a 3D model, and if we go close to that glass material, then we will see the splats through it, or inside of it, or we'll see whatever objects we have placed inside the glass material. Yeah, I mean, if we would be inside of the building and we're looking out, we will see the Gaussian splat model as a surrounding. Someone asks, I remember with the Google Earth when I put V-Rays on, it affected the lights and shadows. Isn't working like that here. No, because the splats are incorporate the light data of the scene, so it doesn't work. But I'm sure that Gaussian splats will start getting bigger and more of a thing now that V-Ray supports them. I'm sure other render engines would also try to follow, and at some point, someone will find a way to remove this light data from the splats, and then they may eventually react to the light in your scene. But once again, in order to do so, they may also need to be actual geometry. So I'm not sure how this whole thing will work out, but once again, with the power of AI, machine learning and stuff, at some point something like this will probably work out, and then it will be heaven, honestly. Tell from outside to inside and not from inside to outside. If we take a look from outside to inside, I mean, if I would now, let's zoom in on this building. I don't know if it's just if the glass of it is just a reflective surface, to be very honest with you. No, don't be sorry for your many questions. This is what we do something like this for, because we want you to ask questions. We want to learn stuff. We want to discuss stuff. This is why it is a live show, and I don't just drop a recording to you so that we can discuss. Yeah, obviously this is just mirror-like glass, but this is something I would gladly test out and see if we can actually see the something which is on the inside. But to me, there is no reason why not. Because the model is still there, we just put it inside of a glass box, so we will still see it. The other question is, given that this is an office building, we'll probably have some artificial lighting on the inside of it. And this artificial lighting won't be affecting our splat model, but we'll still see it, no matter if we look in from the inside out or the outside in. Okay. I think we've had enough of this. Let's move on to discuss some work in progress projects. We'll start with Amir, and then we'll talk about Simon's work, because there we also have something to discuss about if it is possible to create interiors, like good-looking interiors, quickly. Okay, this is tiring, but it's a lot of fun. I know this show will probably be a bit longer than usual, but this was a big topic, and once again, all of those questions or comments are very normal. This is why we do it live. So I hope you don't mind the show being long. Anyway, let's continue with Amir's work. You know, we just focus on the projects, on the work in progress works from the last Friday. And this is when Amir shared his project, the current state of it, to be precise. This is an ongoing work. Let me just check my notes for a second, because I'm lost a bit here. Yeah, here it is. So yeah, this is an ongoing work. It started like this. It was already very promising. The clay model's looking good, but the modeling needed some further fixing, some more detail, especially the surroundings. Lighting and framing weren't optimal as well. So yeah, Amir had to do some work on it, and this is now the current state. So he writes, never give up, third improvements after final touches. And again, I worked on the same commercial project after getting the feedback. I used this time with 3ds Max, Photoshop, and artificial intelligence. I hope you like it, and I hope it's become more realistic than before. Thanks to Dorvadov. You're very welcome, but don't only thank me, also thank Amit and everybody else who contributed with constructive criticism to your success and advancement. Also, I don't know why the glass color changed in the raw render. Okay, this doesn't really matter. Guys, you're most welcome to comment with your feedback. Okay. Let's take a look at the current state. So the framing now looks better. You extended it, which gives the architecture a bit more room to breathe. Also, you have some additional angles, which I think is a very good idea, because they showcase some architectural details from up close, which makes sense. They also show additional building features. If we take a look at this side entrance, for example, you'd never know that it is there if you take a look at the main shot only, because there we only see a hole. Also, it is now textured, and the materials obviously make it lively, more realistic, more authentic. The lighting has also improved. It's you have some beautiful depot shades on the facade. Also, some cool tonal contrasts have been achieved, and generally, it's pretty dynamic in terms of lighting. I like this, and the whole scene population improved as well, because it's an urban situation, seems like a big city, so it's normal that there are many people and on the sidewalks and the pedestrian crossings and vehicles on the streets, and now we have this as well. Now, what you need to do here is, first of all, the interiors are still empty, very visible on this last shot. This definitely takes away some of the realism. So what you can do is you can use vertical blinds. They are very typical for office buildings. Just put them behind the windows, scatter them along a line with chaos scatter, and you should be set. You don't need to do so much interior hinting. And still, if I were you, I would occasionally leave a gap open where we can see on the inside, because these blinds aren't always, put open. And then I would suggest just placing some furniture, some generic furniture on the inside. Here, I'm sure you have your own library, but also the Cosmos library definitely has got your back, because if you go to 3D models, furniture, office furniture, you will see that there are tons of elements there. And there are like this, I don't know, isolation, think tank boxes, chairs, sofas, tables, shelves, whatnot. So you have a ton of different stuff that you can showcase behind the windows for a more realistic look. Now, in terms of framing, let's go back to the very first shot. I would say the framing here is a bit unbalanced, because now you extended it to the top, which is good. Once again, more room to breathe. But you cut off too much of the street. So if I were you, I would extend my bottom cropping a bit downwards until the street is more visible again. So something like this. And gladly place your viewer once again on the sidewalk and not in the middle of the street, as I did here. You had it in the very first step. The viewer was placed here on the sidewalk. This makes a lot of sense, because on a subconscious level, when people view an image, or they view a certain situation, and given that we are human beings with our experiences, when we view a situation, we have some subconscious thoughts about it. So if you show me a situation where I, as a viewer, am placed in the middle of the street, my first thought would be, oh, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go somewhere safe. But if you place me on a sidewalk, I have the calmness to just enjoy the project instead of thinking about having to run for safety. So yeah, this is what I recommend for the very first shot. For the second one, I would say there are two issues, or three. First of all, it's the cropping. You've cut out this dude here by the edge, but he's very contrasty. He's very boldly colored. So this makes him very important, visually important, but then you cut him off. And I think it makes sense to cut him off, but the right thing to do is to not render him along with the other guys. So just get rid of him, and then the composition will turn out to be better. Now, regarding those two guys, I don't think that they harmonize very well. The one looks like some business guy who was shopping, and the other one looks like the serial killer from No Country for Old Men. So they don't really have a chemistry with each other. I mean, instead, maybe you can make somebody who has a package under their arm and wants to go to the post and deliver it, or something like this. But this scene doesn't really make a lot of sense. Next, the entrance area here is quite dark. So you have the people here in the front, and they are not that important, let's be honest. And they are properly lit, but the main entrance of the building that you visualize is in the dark. This is not very good. What you can do, and you definitely need it, because I assume that in Egypt it also gets dark in the evening, is to just have some illumination here so that this area is lit up, similar to what you did actually on the third shot in this area. And one last thing, this fire hydrant here, it's great. It's a cool looking model, and with the help of AI, it's even more realistic. However, it's very much blocking the way. You already have the bollards, then you have the hydrant, and actually there is no place for the people to actually walk on this sidewalk. So yeah, gladly move it somewhere else. And also remember, it is very boldly colored. It's an eye catcher, takes away a lot of the attention. So be sure if you really want to keep it or just get rid of it completely. And then we have the third shot. And here, I like that you use the lantern as a form of an edge framing. However, you need to use depth of field on it so that you blur it out and the viewer can focus on the building. And the second thing is we have this slightly rotated camera angle. And I understand what you did here. You aligned it to this tilted balcony here. And this is actually pretty sweet, but if you do something like this, you need to bring the viewer's attention over to the balcony so that they understand why the camera angle is tilted the way or rotated the way it is. Currently, this is not the case, so what you can do is use some bold color here, maybe place some people there, and try to get rid of everything, not everything, but of this boldness and contrast that you have down here in the street so that the viewer can focus on the balcony and thus understand the camera angle. And last point, the AI, it definitely added realism, as we can see here with the street, but it also takes away realism because there are some artifacts here and there. And yeah, generally there is this AI look, which isn't that great, to be honest. These looks are Crea AI. I don't know which one you used, but in the meantime, I tend to recognize the Crea AI outcomes. So make sure to focus your prompts when you do AI enhancement, to focus your prompts on specific areas, like let's say the entrance or the concrete on this column, and then work with layers in Photoshop or whatever and masks so that you have final outcome which doesn't look like an AI outcome, because this is not an advantage for an image. But to sum it up, this is definitely a nice and notable improvement as well. And don't give up on it. Put in the needed effort, and you will get a good portfolio project in return. This is great. Let's move on to Simon. Amit says serial killer. Yeah. This is, yeah. Simon says, yeah, this Javier Bardem haircut. This is exactly this. Let's check this out. Good man. Okay. Yeah, he had this type of haircut, didn't he? But it was, I mean, profilers have said that he, this is one of the most convincing depictions of a serial killer they've ever seen. So, great role. Anyway, back to Simon's work. So Simon actually shared two works that we'll just like both take a brief look at both. For the first one, he writes, another one for today. Hope I'm not spamming with my posts. This time I just wanted to show that Midjourney is good at creating backlights. In combination with magnific AI for upscaling and enhancing, I have created and used many times some skies for my projects. At least I'm taking advantage of the AI where I pay for subscription instead of paying for extra skies. And the funny thing is that I can generate a context that is really like the particular city. Do you use AI for the final stage of the images? It's done in Rhino, V-Ray, Midjourney, Magnific, and Photoshop. So, as usual, dear Simon, very good, informative description. It's always a pleasure to read your descriptions. As for the work, definitely solid, especially the first shot. We have this beautiful central perspective that literally, figuratively sucks us in, and it's easy to imagine having this sheltered area and enjoying your time there with family or friends, no matter if it's sunny or rainy on the outside. This is very cool. Modeling materials look good as well. The background and the sky that you did with AI also very much fit the situation, give some situational or locational authenticity as well. And the sky looks great. I must admit this. The ground cover I find to be a bit weird. If we zoom in, it looks like a 2D or texture of a grass with some bump to it. I don't like it that much. I think you could do better in this regard, or maybe use one of those green rugs people use on their terraces to simulate grass. But yeah, or just scatter some grass out there. Simon says all these posts in one day with the help of Chaos Cosmos library. Indeed, it was a texture just for the fast result. Yeah, but before you add it to your portfolio, use some actual grass. It will look better. Now, the second shot, I cannot quite agree here with Ricardo, who says beautiful image. I agree with the second part, however, who says be careful with the horizon line. It's way too low. That's true. It needs to be higher. It's not that it's a bad image, but it's not on par with the first one for multiple reasons. First of all, the furniture looks very randomly placed, like you just really took it out of the Cosmos library and then just threw it in. It doesn't really harmonize with this built-in seating accommodation here by the grill. I think you can spend a bit more time on the design of the terrace furniture here. Also, the grill, it's kind of suggests a place to eat, but there is none here. I mean, usually people don't sit on chairs like this to eat a burger or a steak, you know. And also, framing wise, there is too much empty space down here. So I think a framing like this would look better in this particular situation, because you won't be losing any information vital to the shot, the situation. The viewer will still get the same amount of information, but you will get rid of the large empty grass area on the floor. So yeah, if you change the framing and if you change a bit the furnishing alignment, I think that could also be a very cool looking scene. Simon says, fast doesn't mean good, but that is for the client to understand. Well, we'll talk about it with your next project. As for the AI topic, first of all, the local context of those skies that you create with Midjourney, this is definitely a big advantage. It gives you flexibility, it gives you local authenticity, and these are big plus points. Personally, I must admit, as an artist, I'm not a huge fan of backplates. I try to not use them if not otherwise necessary. I actually only use backplates if, let's say, the background is very specific. Let's say there is a cathedral or something which is so unique, I cannot model it. So I have to put it as a backplate with self-illumination. Other than that, I prefer to just model my surroundings and then have the flexibility to use any HDRI or sun and sky system however I please. And why I also prefer 360 panoramas or HDRIs or sun and sky is because it just provides a more consistent final result in terms of reflections, in terms of refractions, and of also global color and contrast, which oftentimes doesn't work that well if you use a separate backplate. On projects that I have worked in the past, larger projects than this terrace, obviously, where a photographer was a part of the team, I would also send them over to create a local 360 panorama for me so that I can use it as a source of illumination if it works out, but also as a surrounding, so that once again I have this consistent global color to my works. Still, if you like to work with backplates, definitely check the VW Art Club background. There are 7 volumes in the meantime. I think most of those are done with photography, not with AI, by Vasilis himself. They're really, really cool. So I think you know of those, but they're really good. And it's also a recommendation to all of you watching now or the recording later. Check those out. Also check the VW Art Club. It's an amazing group, and Vasilis does an awesome job with it. And to you, Simon, in particular, I mean, these are also taken in Greece, Rhodes Island, so yeah, they would very much fit your locality. Simon says, I do it in post only with invisible V-Ray sky because with only sky visible, it was a bit empty. Yeah, I understand this. Anyway, I think this will, oh no, this is not enough because you asked if we use AI for the enhancement, and I think this definitely makes sense. I certainly do from time to time, but very limited, and mostly focusing on the 3D people if I have any certain materials and certain plans to make them look more realistic. But I really try to avoid artifacts and this AI look that I just talked about on Amir's work because I don't like it. It's kind of sharpened and blurry at the same time, and it's very easily recognizable as AI. And I think it takes away from the uniqueness and quality of images. So I use it sparsely, only in areas where I really need it. Just to answer your question. Okay, let's continue with the second one, which is this apartment that you shared with us. I think it's commercial work as well. You're right. Hi all. Just another work in progress, but a really fast design this time. The client provided me only a PDF plan and they wanted a fast result. Not sure what our role is for the designing part. Would love some opinions from you guys, and you get those. Anyways, it was fun and effective at least. I used Chaos Cosmos assets and some furniture from 3D Sky. Also modeled the ceiling light and wall lights. Rhino V-Ray for rendering. Have a nice weekend, you all. So let's take a closer look. First of all, once again, great description. Once again, a Rhino work, which makes me really, really happy as a former user. Um, and yeah, this was the floor plan that you needed to work with. For the first shot, we are situated somewhere here. This is the entrance area. This is the dining area, the kitchen, and here is the living room. So here we are. To me, it doesn't look rushed, actually. I personally enjoyed more than the terrace. The modeling looks nice, the materials look nice, the color scheme's pleasant, harmonious. The design makes really sense. You very nicely managed to fit in this kitchen and also this niche, avoiding this structural wall here. You did really, really good. First shot, classic central perspective, nicely showcases the space flow, especially how the kitchen and dining areas are intersecting, but also it's an open space to the living room as well. Here, the lighting is a bit problematic, of course, because you have the main natural light coming from behind the camera, which usually results in a flat image lacking depth. You countered it with the artificial illumination in these darker areas, and it actually worked out pretty nice. Um, the only thing missing is that the dining area is a bit dark in the moment. It is missing some light source, a pendant or something. And generally, as an advice to you guys, when you make a day scene of an interior, try to imagine it, and you're scattering lamps, lights around. Try to imagine the day scene in the evening and see if it will work out. Obviously, when evening comes, these people will only have to use candles because otherwise they won't be having any light sources for them to see what they're enjoying as a meal. So definitely place a pendant here, turn it on, and then it will be even better. The second thing that I'm missing here is the population with the sets. There aren't that many. The scene is pretty sparsely populated. It's okay. It's minimalism and stuff. You didn't have enough time. That's understandable. But I think with a few further steps, like adding a coat rack here, the pendant, some kitchen gadgets, one or two, and then maybe something on the coffee table, it would be populated enough and feel more lively and lived in as well. Now for the second shot, I find it to be pretty sweet, very harmonious depiction of minimalism. It's also pleasantly illuminated. Maybe the bloom is a bit too strong, but it definitely fits the mood and the atmosphere of this scene, so this is cool. Now, if you want less distorted edges, because as you can see here, the actually spherical lamp is currently more of an oval, just pull the camera back to the dining area and then give your camera a higher focal length value, and it should be okay. Now, regarding the designing part topic that you asked, and Amit as well. Now, I'll share with you some thoughts or from my own experience. I think to answer this question, is it possible to create good looking interiors in very fast? The answer is yes, but it very much depends on the client and the dynamic you have with the client. Of course, assuming that you want to put in the effort, that you know what you're doing without having to be a total pro, then it depends on the client. There are some clients out there that absolutely don't care. They just want you to place some generic assets into their interior, so that it becomes visible for their clients, eventually potential buyers, how the spaces are meant to be. So in this particular case, because let's imagine your client shows this to a potential buyer of this apartment, and the potential buyer thinks like, okay, where is the kitchen? Where's the living room? And then the client says, you know what, Simon, just place a dining table, a kitchen, and a sofa somewhere and call it a day. In this case, you can actually finish a project like this within a few hours, because let's face it, it's without any disrespect to your effort and work, but what you need to do here is just trace this floor plan with a line, extrude, shell, cut off the windows and the doors, and then for the rest, for the materials, you have the Cosmos library, you have your own rent engines library, and of course, as an artist who's been doing this for a while, you probably have your own library as well. Same goes with the assets. You have the Cosmos library and your own stuff for 3D Sky, CG, whatever. So yeah, this isn't really difficult, and this could be literally finished within a day. And as we can see, it looks pretty nice. I don't know if this is the case, if the client told you that it doesn't matter, just put something on the inside, and these were the first things you came up with because they fit together very harmoniously. But yeah, some clients don't really care, and then you can be very quick. Most clients, however, do care about the quality of their interiors and say something along the lines of make it nice. Now, this is where it becomes tricky, because what does make it nice mean? Once again, it depends very much on the client. For the last almost 13 years that I've been doing this, almost all interiors that I have worked on have looked like this. I just got a PDF, sometimes with some maybe furniture, sometimes not, but no one told me in most of the cases how this interior is supposed to look like, what type of color scheme, what type of interior design. It was just make it nice. And it still can work out and be pretty quick if the client trusts you or is very pragmatic. And I'll show you two examples. So on a project, the client just sent me this and said, okay, I want you to visualize this combo space of kitchen, dining, and living room. You choose which one you want to visualize, and I also need a bathroom. Just make it happen. Thank you. I'm very excited about this. This particular client was one that was very much into design and architecture himself, but he knew that I'm an architect as well, so he really wanted. So our calls weren't, me being nervous if you like what I'm doing. It was me waiting in anticipation our next call where we will discuss design ideas. So I picked up this apartment here where it has the kitchen, the dining, and the living room areas, and this bathroom down here. So here, once again, the apartment. And this is how it turned out. So the client was open for ideas. He wanted to have something which isn't like not necessarily something you see every day, but still something which is implementable. So this is just done in literally a few days with all the revisions, with all the shots that you see here. And as you can see, it's a pretty, complete project with also lots of close-ups. And it was definitely fun for me to work on. So here you can see it as a 360 panorama. So there is a ton of detail, but still, given that the client was trusting me, given that they worked alongside with me, every more or less every step we took was the right one, and it ended up looking pretty cool. And as for the bathroom, I just showed you the bathroom. This is how it turned out. I tried to take these wooden slats that we have here in the original apartment, and also have some of them of the bathroom in the bathroom as well, so that the two visually belong together. And once again, this is something with a ton of detail to it, which was finished within 2 days with all the images that you see here. And it was good enough for the Corona team to share it on their social media and for it to get lots and lots of likes. So in a situation like this, you can create good quality in a very short time. Simon says something. Sometimes this is more fun because I don't have a ton of specifications, and this way it's faster to choose the sets and materials. Also, you give your personal touch, and it's like you let the architect inside you emerge. Yeah, definitely. This is absolutely the case, but it could also be difficult. Now, I'll give you other example, which is from, yeah, here's the bathroom in 3D. So you see, this is a pretty nice space with a lot of detail. And once again, it was done in 2 days. I'll give you a different example. This is from a different project. This time the client was more on the pragmatic side, like a true businessman, like one of those yes or no people. They tell you what they want, they're clear about it, and if you give them what they want, it's a yes, it's great, and then you can proceed. So in this particular case, these plans that you see here may look archaic. I absolutely understand this. But this is actually a building in an extremely prominent location in one of the biggest cities in Germany. And this building needed to be renovated. And despite those apartments, because this one will be a single apartment, just so we're clear, being less than 2.5 meters, there will be tons of people, or maybe they already are, tons of people who will be very much eager to live there because, once again, the location is very, very prominent. But all I had to work with here was this, and the client saying that they want this to be modern, to be functional, but not over the top, also implementable, to have some wood with it, but mostly bright. And this was everything I had to work with. So given the small space, I had to come up with a type of a system for this apartment. And yeah, these are the results. Just after, I think this was also like 2 or 3 days, I made a couple of images with a functioning system that later would be implemented into these apartments. With, as you can see, a ton of detail, I tried to create different images to showcase that despite the small size of this apartment, people can still feel at home with it. People can still have their own corners and own areas and decorations, so that they feel at home and not like a hotel guest. And yeah, it absolutely worked out, and the client accepted it. The first time they saw it, they were like, okay, that works out, just get it. And that was the end of it. And this is another example of a project that was done in just a few days. Now, I won't be showing you any negative examples, but the truth is that some clients don't know what they want, and others want to intervene no matter what. Even if you have the best architects and the best 3D artists working on the project, they still want to have the last word. They still want to change stuff just for the sake of it. And working with people like this is obviously very difficult. And this is why it is important to have a very clear contract, agreement, or set of conditions before you start working, and then stick to those. Like if they tell you, I don't care what you put inside, and you have it black and white, and then they don't really care, then it's good. But if they say, I didn't care, but now you did the wrong things on the inside, I want something else, you can then show it to them and say, stop. I told you, you told me that it doesn't matter what I put on the inside, and suddenly it matters. For these additional hours that I'll be working, I will charge you more. Alternatively, if they say make it nice, then first thing you do is create a mood board with references, and make sure that you and the client agree on that mood board. And once you have the mood board, you stick to it. and make sure that everything is according to it. And so that if in the end the client suddenly changes their minds, you can say, well, we agree to this mood board, you said yes to it, and now you're changing your mind, I have to charge more. And one personal recommendation, if you do the design work as well, it costs more, so charge more. That's it. We're almost 2 hours in, and I haven't talked about any of the inspirational projects. So we got to move on. But I hope this was useful to you as an insight of somebody who's been doing it for a while. Yeah, gladly let me know what you think. I see Amir joined us. He says, hello, Theodor Vadov. Sorry for the late. Sorry, I'm late. I was out of home. Yeah, you're very welcome. You can always watch the recording. But now I got to move on to our inspirational projects for the day. So here we start with Bilal's work, which is a CGI Moody architectural maquette. Bilal writes, I saw this beautiful maquette render on Chaos Group website and immediately thought of creating my own version in the same mood. So I had this model of a house from a long time. I took that and started modeling the surroundings. After a while, when I got satisfied with the details, I did lighting and completed the composition in Photoshop. The reference I used in the scene, this is great to credit the references that you've used. There is nothing wrong with having references or reproducing stuff, recreating it, but always credit your references. And this, by the way, is an awesome tutorial article, and it makes sense to follow it. I absolutely understand why Bilal was so impressed with it. As for the final outcome of this is really good. You did a great job. It looks very convincing. It could actually be scale model photography. Execution is wonderful. You remove the unnecessary details from the house. It is very important because a scale model doesn't have light switches, sockets, and all this small stuff. You establish good focus, good lighting, and also you took beautiful additional shots. I really enjoy them very, very much because they're emphasizing different parts of your architecture. The highlight to me, however, are the materials here, especially that cardboard material you have down here because it looks very realistic. Not only the pattern is greatly simulated, but also this wavy structure of cardboard. The only thing bad I see is if we take a look at the third close-up, I think that the surrounding buildings are not simplified enough, not similar to what you did with the main building. They have too much detail on them, they have too much texture. So I would say try to make them more in the context of the main model. What you can do is just search for a random 3D house online, get the first model you come across with. It will probably be not a really good one, but this is exactly what plays in your cards in this specific situation because you don't really need good models. You need very low poly ones in order to simulate a scale model. But apart from it, great exercise. Now let's move on to the next work, which is Navid. Now this project is really interesting. Navid writes, I modeled and materialized this scene with 3ds Max and rendered with the Chaos Vantage rendering engine. Vantage is very attractive and fast and can move your project process in the best way and at high speed. I suggest you work with Chaos Group software. This sounds a bit like Truman's Show. I don't know if you cooperate with Chaos or not, but no, it's just joking. But it's actually great if an artist tries out a piece of software, no matter what, and then gives a feedback like this, because I think this motivates the developers, but it also shows other artists that see the good outcome of this software to also eventually try it out. So yeah, great that you shared your emotions towards Vantage. As for the images themselves or the project itself, I absolutely love the framings here, all three of them. Great focus, great data field, and the last one especially with this dreamy peak around the corner, to me totally suits the mood and it's great. Materials, assets look great too, especially the round rug. This is something I need to ask you about because the rug looks very realistic. So I would really want to know if this is hair and fur or because it doesn't look like displacement. And if this is hair and fur, gladly share your Heron first settings with the rest, please. But yeah, to me, the highlight here definitely is the design itself. Because, first of all, it's bold. We have floral patterns on the wallpaper, on the chair fabric, on some of those frame pictures, even on the curtain. And this is not something that always works out, but I think that in this case it did. And the second thing, of course, is the green table. Why is it something special? Because you have this stuffy bourgeois interior, let's call it like this, and then you decided to place this incredibly venomously green table in it. And this obviously leads to divided opinions. Some artists, like Janita and Amit, took a look at it and find this table to be distracting. This is why Janita even create a version for you where the table is desaturated, and I fully understand and respect this. However, to me personally, the green table is what makes the actual difference with this scene, because it just feels right. It's just a type of middle finger to the rest of the design, which makes this the message of those images so strong. To me, with a regular table, this would be kind of a boring image. But with this green table, it is suddenly interesting. It's exciting, and I love it. Now, on the side of improvements, definitely the sharpening is way too strong. You need to go easier on this, and please don't do it with your phone in future, but use appropriate piece of software like Photoshop, Lightroom, whatever, or just a video frame buffer. It would still be better than what a phone does. And the next thing is this the way the transition between the wall and the floor. Usually it doesn't look like this. You either have a baseboard here or there is a small gap between floor and wall. But that's it. Unique expressionist scene that I absolutely love. Okay, let's move on to Mariana's work. Finally, Mariana, are you still there or are you asleep in the meantime? Because it's been 2 hours since we started the show, and it's only now that I finally come around to talking about your work. It's those contemporary houses, I call it like this. It's a commercial work. Let's see what you have to say about it. Dears, I wanted to share with you an architectural project located in a small village of central Switzerland. The idea was to create a constellation of three buildings that could harmonize with the context in a contemporary way. Wood is a main actor here. Spaces are arranged in a mostly organic way to create a pleasant ambience without unnecessary repetition. These renders are a first stage of a sale documentation and also serve to show the authorities how the project fits in the village. I struggled especially with an interior view of living because I had to show the terrace and the interior in the same time, which was very light managed demanding. I would appreciate advices, particularly for this kind of renders, but all constructive comments are very welcome. Project is modeled in Rhino 8 with V-Ray, Photoshop, and Photoshop. Rhino, once again, third time today. I'm really happy here. Mariana, you're here. This is great. This is awesome because we'll now take a closer look at your work. First of all, I think we can, just viewing the thumbnails, we can immediately say that a lot of work is involved in this project. It's not only the one house here, there are other two houses, if I see it right. So yeah, there is a lot of work here, and I think you did it in a very good way. First, we have good, clean modeling, both on the exterior and the interior areas as well. Just take a look at this one. Um, Also, great work with the roof. Roofs are sometimes tricky to pull off, but not only did you pull it off, but also managed to showcase also those integrated solar panels. I assume these are those roof tile solar panels, which, by the way, are a great engineering solution, because solar panels themselves are pretty ugly, and you cannot really hide them because you want them to absorb the sunlight, so they have to be exposed, and they definitely interfere a lot with the design of a building. But these built-in ones are very cool looking, but they don't interfere that much. They are very secondary in the design, and this is awesome. Also, looking at the materials, I see decent materials, very fitting, also very pleasant looking color scheme as well. The scattering looks good, also fits the location too, in my opinion. I like how you used different scatterers here for the foreground or for this area with some flowers, and then the grass next to the building is also different. This looks great. And the lighting very nicely fits the mood and has this vacational vibe to it as well. The highlight of your work, however, to me, is this emphasis on the, how should I put it, locational qualities that you managed to implement into every shot so that the viewer is always reminded of how cool it is to live there. So let's take a look at the first one. And here we see the buildings absolutely surrounded by greenery. Next, we have the second shot. Obviously, this shot is meant to show how the building integrates into the neighborhood. So we see the immediate neighborhood, definitely totally laid back, but we also see in the distance a lake. I don't know which lake this is, but I would call this an immediate proximity. So probably with a bike, it's like, 5 to 10 minutes. On foot, it's probably half an hour, and then you are at the lake. And this is, of course, an amazing quality for where these people will be living in future. And by the way, very good integration. Then we have the first interior shot, which, if you take a look at the architecture itself, it's modern. It could be an apartment in any major city. However, if we take a look at the view and we see the sheep on the outside, we know that we have something special, because if you take a look at a modern apartment in the city and you take a look out of it, you'll probably see another buildings. But in this case, you see wonderful, because Swiss nature is absolutely amazing, nicely preserved, and you have all those cows and sheep and goats just roaming around eating, and it's just a pleasure to the soul to view something like this. So it makes a lot of sense that you thematize it. And finally, we have this final shot of the loggia, where we also see the interior, and once again has a lot of emphasis on the greenery. Mariana writes, grass is a Photoshop mapping. As soon as my office PC is really old, hope to receive a new one as a Christmas present. You get Christmas presents in your office. This is really cool. But yeah, you did a great job with the greenery in Photoshop. So in the end, what counts is that you make it work, right? Doesn't matter if it's a scatter or if it's matte painting. You made it work and it looks great. Now let's talk a bit more about this specific shot, because you described it as a bit of a more complex to pull off, and I absolutely understand, because usually if we focus on the interior, then the exterior is overexposed, and if we focus on the exterior, the interior is underexposed. In this particular case, however, you managed to make it work that the loggia and the interior are both nicely visible. And while doing so, you created the impression in the viewer that through this massive glazing and so much light is going on the inside of this apartment, that it's just full of natural light. I see that the spots are turned on the ceiling, but it doesn't matter. To the viewer, it just looks like you have a ton of light during the day. And most likely, looking at architecture, this is also going to be the case. You also achieved a very pleasant, airy feeling. You know, this interior space feels spacious. It feels like people have can do whatever they please with this space. And also the huge glazings. Just imagine, because these are sliding doors, just imagine opening this one and the one where the woman is standing. Then you have the feeling that you're halfway on the outside, which is absolutely incredible. Like, you don't have the feeling of being encapsulated in an apartment with some small windows. Instead, you'll be like on a veranda or something, which is great. Now, yeah, there are some issues. The hanging lights, Abdi already told you about this one, especially here where they clip with this wooden wall geometry. And the second thing, this is what I see as an architect. I mean, lamps like these are usually something that the inhabitants of an apartment put themselves. But given the size of this loggia, I think that you should also have some type of illumination, some type of a lamp that is illuminating it in the evening. So maybe consider depicting said lamp as well, because it will probably make a bit more sense and probably will also look a bit better than those lamps. And by the way, if you want to create lamps like this, Abdi has a tutorial on how to do this. However, it's for 3ds Max with TypeFlow, and you're a Rhino user, so for you it may not work out. Um, and yeah, other than that, I would only say the depth of field of the foreground plants can be a bit stronger so that they are a bit more blurry, and yeah, then you can focus more on the interior. But I think you did a great job with this one. As for possible improvements, now here it seems like for the facade cladding you worked with like a texture instead of actual geometry, and despite the struggle with this, the heavier geometry and everything, I would still recommend working with actual cladding geometry. It just looks nicer, more realistic, and more lively as well. Here is an example of mine of a house which is clad in wooden planks, and you can see there are no repetitions whatsoever. It's just and even up close it looks really, really cool. So if you work with actual cladding geometry, we will be also able to create closer shots, not close-ups but closer shots, and you also avoid repetitions like this. The next thing, oh, here with the first scene, check the material of this dormer and this skylight, because it looks like bronze or like something went wrong with your original material, but they don't look really convincing. And then for the third shot, to me, if we compare this to the loggia shot, which is very good, this one is not on par. This doesn't have the same quality as the loggia shot. Um, Maybe because we have so much empty space on the walls and the ceiling, but it's kind of too simplistic of a shot. It's not really that exciting. Maybe choose a different angle and composition for this one. This is I would recommend. Mariana says you're totally right about illumination. Definitely will fix this. Thank you. You're very welcome. And as for the blanket material, this is actually my final point here. It looks a bit like a clay model render. I know it has some structure to it, but it's not really visible. You can see that on this, whatever this is, couch, ottoman, even though it's further away from the camera, you can clearly see the structure of it, and here you don't see it really. So what I would recommend is give this blanket a bit more structure in order to fit better into the scene. But yeah, maybe try a different angle here, because this one is a bit underwhelming and it's not on par with all the other really, really beautiful shots. But yeah, great work. I must admit, what counts here is that your images manage to sell the idea of living there to me. And I think this is what Arvis is about, right? I see this and I think, wow, I'll be living in a very probably ecologically built surrounding environment, and I'll have so much greenery around me, and I'll be living in a safe neighborhood where kids can play on the street. Just take a look at this. I'll have a lake in the area. So all the or lots of the qualities that this project has, you manage to depict with those images, and that's absolutely great. So yeah, if this project advances or changes, gladly keep us updated. We can get back to it in a future show as well, or if not in a show, then simply in the group. And now, two quick projects for the end, and then we're through, I promise. First one is this project by Mohanad. It's a bedroom in Berlin, which seems to be a commercial work, judging by all the numbers up here. And it's a great image, very lively, very authentic, with tons of detail that make it look very lived in, and also very beautiful framing to it. A highlight here, however, to me personally, as somebody viewing this image, is the mood that Muhammad achieved with this image. I enjoyed a lot. I knew Carolina, you see her comment here. We will enjoy it too. I just didn't dare to write it down and tag her because it would have been awkward if she actually happened to not like it. But she writes, finally, an art piece that isn't flooded of light. Very realistic lighting, totally love it. And I think this is a very interesting topic to talk about with this project because I think the dilemma in this case is not if this is a good project or not, because or a good image or not, because it is a good image. The question here is it a good Archviz image? And here the question is the answer is more difficult. I would say maybe not that much, um, because it's too dark, or as Carolina puts it, it's not flooded with light. Now let's think for a moment about why architectural visualization images are that bright or that flooded with light, and the answer is fairly simple: because people want to see what they invest in, what they buy. I personally am a big fan of dark, gritty, horror, spooky stuff, film noir, and things like this. So, yeah, this is one example of mine. You can tell this is pretty dark, pretty gritty, but an image like this really doesn't help sell, right? So, if I would try to sell you those shoes or the clothes or the store itself, you would probably not know much about it after viewing this image. And the second thing is, um, images like this aren't also for the common taste. Now, of course, you can say, well, I don't want to meet the common taste. I want one specific group. Then you can make images like this for them. But if you want a wider audience for your project, or like wider audience of potential buyers, you want to make something that appeals to more people. This is also the reason why, even though there are people who are into BDSM, we don't visualize the regular bedroom like this, but we make a vanilla room with a king size or queen size bed and beige and pampas and stuff like this. And the people who are into BDSM see the king size bed and know, oh, my BDSM bed will still fit in, and in this empty area between the desk and whatever, I can put my sex swing. Just as an example. So going back to Mohanad's work, in terms of architectural visualization, it is a bit dark because people cannot properly see some of the elements and the contrasts are way too strong. But in terms of an image to look at, I mean, if this was done for the, let's say, the owners of this room, and they say, give me an emotional image of my bedroom, then Mohana did a wonderful job. And honestly, this is the type of image that I would frame and put on my wall. So when a topic like this happens, it very much depends on the perspective that you view from. As for possible improvements, Abdi already mentioned it. The floor is pretty rough. The planks seem rather big, and also the bump mapping on them is very strong. If you reduce this, it will become even better. But in conclusion, it's a very powerful image, just maybe not as great in terms of architectural visualization. Mariana has written, great, thank you so much, very inspiring. You're very welcome. Thanks for waiting more than 2 hours to hear this. I hope this was really useful to you. And now let's check out the very last project that we will talk about today. It's Foggy Pool by Ravindu. I think it's an exercise, I would assume. He writes, my favorite blue hour with warm lights. What do you think? How is it? It's done in Corona 11 with 3ds Max 2023 and Adobe Photoshop, and it's awesome. Really makes me want to be there. Exciting design, good execution, but most of all, what is the highlight here to me is the creative lighting, because you created this very beautiful contrast between warm and cold colors. We have the cold colors on the sky, we have them on the pools, and then we have the warm on all the artificial lighting. And it just makes the scene feel so lively and so exciting to look at. And then you also added volumetric effects atop of this to make it even moodier. Now, what can be improved are, I mean, Amit gave you a huge feedback, so I don't have much to say more. There are some modeling issues like the edge of this round pool. There are some asset repetitions. If you have something like this, then change one of the assets. Just remove the towels, maybe rotate it a bit, and then you avoid this very visible repetition. And as for the pool water, in situations like this, if you want to know how to make the pool water with small waves, big waves, no waves, think about the real life conditions. So in this particular case, you depicted fog. If you have fog, there usually is no wind because the wind will disperse the fog. So when there is no wind, there are also no waves. So in a situation like this, your water surface should just be calm, mirror-like, and that's it. And this is simpler. But yeah, cool scene, Ravindu. Just fix the small issues and definitely take some further shots because you've put so much work into creating this. You cannot just, take one shot and call it a day. Take more shots and turn this single gallery image into an actual portfolio project. And with this, we're actually after an hour, 2 hours and 20 minutes, we're in the end of today's show. There are still people watching. This is amazing. You people are really hard. Mohanad says, thank you so much, Theo. I was really focusing on the image in an artistic rather than an archivist shot. I had done a night version of this, but it wasn't really good in my opinion. So I only posted this as an artistic mood. Thank you for your kind feedback. You're very welcome. And when it comes to an artistic image, this is a wonderful artistic image. Once again, this is something that you can just frame and put on your wall. Wonderful image. Okay, before we part ways, let me just very quickly show you my 5 contenders that you get to vote for the next cover image of this group. We will start with Ivan's work, dark interior, really interesting one. I found it a bit cluttered, but it's very crisp, clear, and nice image, and it's also bold and courageously done. So yeah, thumbs up for this. Next, Mohanad, your interior. We just talked about it. I don't need to say more. It's great. You can vote for it. Next, we have a new image by Navid. I really enjoy this one. Also, the tone mapping of it and the color grading too. It's a really cool image. Very, very interesting architecture as well. Ravindu's image, just talked about this. Probably I will remove his name down here, but it doesn't really matter that much. And one image by Samir. As far as I know, this is a reproduction of an existing scene that he's working on, but I really enjoy the simplicity of this. And all the previous images were pretty dark and gritty, so let's have a bright white one too, and that's it. Amit says it was a cool show, but finally it finished, and I was thinking if there was more, I would have said more. Oh, yeah, this is very kind of you. Mohanad says, truly an honor to be up with these amazing renders. Well, you definitely deserve it. All of them deserve it. I'll prepare a post for this. You get to vote for the next 2 weeks. Amit says, it was so interesting that I couldn't eat my dinner, didn't feel like taking any distractions during the show, and it was a wise decision. Oh man, I'm sorry for that. I mean, I truly appreciate this, but I'm also sorry that you couldn't enjoy your dinner. I thought that I wanted to ask you in the end how it tasted. Was it good? I hope it didn't get cold in the meantime. So yeah, let's quickly part ways so that Amit can enjoy his dinner, and actually I can also go enjoy mine. So folks, I hope this was useful to you, especially the part with the Gaussian splats. This is what made the show so long. I hope, yeah, you can imagine using those in future, and let's experiment with them, especially the V-Ray users among us, and see where we can get them to work with the way we want them so that we can save time and be more flexible in our work. And with this, I want to wish you good rest of the week. Stay safe, be healthy. I hope to see you again in 2 weeks, the same place and time. And until then, rock on, keep it real. Goodbye and much love, my friends. Bye bye. It was a real pleasure hanging out with you.